I can talk. Okay. We're getting ready to go live. All right, we are live and we are all set up here. And hopefully between Mel and I, we will not blow out the system because we have a tendency to mess with technology. I just wanted everyone to introduce Melanie Procter here, who is the owner of Phuket Cleanse in Thailand. And her and I became fast friends and old soulmates very quickly along this journey. And as you guys all know, we're getting ready for the Quantum Revolution Tour. And this Quantum Revolution Tour is really cutting edge, and it is like nothing that's ever happened before. And so I've been having my guests that are going to be doing this tour with me on live each night to kind of give you a different perspective of what it means to activate the DNA and super accelerate human consciousness, and what it means to be alive in a fifth dimensional reality. And Mel is an expert on this because not only is she all things health and wellness, but she's a spiritual historian and she's a scientist in her own mind. So Mel, welcome. Thank you so much for joining me. And I know that you have so much to talk about tonight. So why don't I just let you jump in?
Well, you know, I've been really excited about this from the beginning, and I know that you're talking about DNA activation all the time, and I thought what I'd like to do is talk to everybody's left brain tonight, and say that a lot of people are using the word DNA activation in the New Age field, but what's happening in the science field? And what's happening in the field of evolution is evolution talking about DNA activation and what's going on there. So that I thought I'd like to talk about that. And in history, what's happened. So I'm going to talk to you tonight about evolutionary biology. And I am not saying, I'm not saying that I believe in evolutionary biology. I'm going to tell you what mainstream science is going to tell you about evolutionary biology. It doesn't mean I believe it. It doesn't mean I'm encouraging you to believe it, but I want to give you the science take on DNA activation, as we call it. Okay. So as I said, I'm here to speak to your left brain and not to convince you of anything. So I think it's a great story. So what science will say is, why did humans evolve the way they did into these amazing species that look so different than our nearest relatives, which are chimps? Boy, I'm almost scared to say this because there's just such, about explosion when you start talking about evolution. Right. I'm telling this story, I could almost feel like daggers. I'm just the messenger. Don't kill the messenger. So the story in science is that chimps were living in Central Africa in very lush tropical forests. Life was beautiful for a chimp. The right leaves were there and bananas everywhere. And I don't even know if chimps really eat bananas all the time. But good for a chimp. And there was actually like a disease that came through the forest, and I don't know if it was like killing the trees and the habitat of the chimps for some reason. They were losing their food source. So the chimps began to migrate to the coastal regions of Africa, which aren't as lush, and they have a lot more beach. So here's a little question, if anyone's out there. Where does science tell us that they found the first primate who made that leap on the evolutionary trajectory? So like there's movies been made about her. Her name begins with an L and it ends with a Y, and they found the artifacts of, who is it? Does anybody know?
Anybody know on screen? I can't see actually the comments right now. Go for it.
Well, it's Lucy. So Lucy was so imagine Lucy's parents. They were now living around the coast of Africa. They're living in Ethiopia. So Lucy's bones were found in Ethiopia. Right. If anybody Googles Lucy right away, either Scarlett Johansson's going to show up, or this semi-chimp, semi-human's going to show up, because the movie, you did see the movie, Lucy?
I saw the movie. I can relate. Yes.
Showing pictures of Lucy, and they were showing evolutionary biologists telling the story. And then they were showing Scarlett Johansson, who was the new Lucy, who was that next evolutionary step to what humans can be. So if you've seen that movie, then you're in a good place for this. So right there in Ethiopia, the habitat was quite different. And why did Lucy's parents suddenly were they able to birth a chimp that was a little more human than the other chimps who were chimp? So, so what the difference was in that part of Africa around Ethiopia, Eritrea, and Djibouti, if anybody knows where Djibouti is, it's right up there, is there's 3 tectonic plates that come crashing against each other. So there's a lot of energy under the land. There's a lot of electrons, a lot of electricity being produced on the earth. So you know what, if anyone's not well, I suggest you take your butt to Djibouti. Out, there's 5-star hotels on the beach. You're not going to spend a lot of money. Just sit on the land, get the sun, lay on the beach, and you're going to have 5 tectonic plates crashing against each other, just feeding you with electrons from the earth. People there probably are missing out as they walk around in rubber shoes. But if I was in Djibouti, I'd be my booty would be right on the ground.
Yeah, totally.
So this is the one. The big environmental change that they had. They also had a lot of sun. It's very hot. There's a lot of direct sun there. They also suddenly had a different diet of food that's very good for catching electrons and conducting electrons. So chimps didn't eat seafood, but if you were a chimp and you had to catch things, from the ocean, what would be easy to catch? So they were able to suddenly, I guess, get crabs, or if I don't know, if it actually crack an oyster, I'm not sure. They were able to eat a lot of seaweed. So what fish oil has, what omega-3s have, and at this point, again, I'm still just telling the story from science. I'm not encouraging anybody to eat seafood if they're a vegetarian, but there are a lot of benefits of seafood and sea vegetables. So fish oils, omega-3s, if you ask anybody who really knows the medical literature, the number one nutrient anybody who knows the medical literature will say that you should take to improve everything is omega-3s, fish oils. Because fish oils, they're like solar panels that that catch electrons, catch electricity, and hold it for you. There's nothing on earth that comes close to fish oils in terms of catching electricity, holding it, and helping you to conduct it. Now there is a close one, which is iodine. So iodine, of course, is super high in seaweed, and iodine it will actually conduct electricity, but it insulates you from losing electricity. So they had iodine, they had zinc, they had magnesium. They suddenly had this rich source of minerals and fish oil. So when the body's able to hold more, so they were able to hold more light. Now you might say light, oh, that's our new age language. No. This is quantum biology. This is sophisticated science. We now know because of this change in diet, they were able to hold more light. And because of a rich source of iodine, they weren't losing light, because iodine is like insulation and it also superconducts electricity. And again, they were catching more electricity. So now you understand when Lucy's parents suddenly were able to catch more light, hold more light, they activated their DNA, and their child coded for a more sophisticated operating system.
Absolutely.
And she was on the step. She set the course for human evolution. So now you understand, the more light you hold, the less light you lose. You're allowed to have the next operating system. You're allowed to have that next app. And everybody knows that, because on a great day when you're full of light and you're radiant, you're running different apps, and you're going to run on the days where you feel like crap. If you're down and you're depressed. So we know what that feels like to run different apps. So that in a nutshell is how we would talk about DNA activation in terms of science. Now, what's really cool about this event is I think it's bringing back the old, because what we, there are certain cultures on earth, and some may be familiar with the Essenes. So it was a Jewish tribe called the Essenes, and I'm sure a lot of people have heard of scenes, the gospel of the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
And was, you know, again, this is history. I'm quoting history. I'm not going to try to pass off any beliefs, but according to history, Jesus was an Essene and Mary Magdalene was a Essene and Mary and Joseph were Essenes, okay? Now, one thing about the Essenes is that the Essenes had a culture in which their whole focus of their tribe was DNA activation. They were about attaining the light body, and it was very much a part of their culture is they would cultivate the light body so that they could activate what they were ascending toward. Literally, was a rainbow body.
Mm-hmm.
And Jesus sort of left the instruction book. He wrote the cookbook. You know, he was there teaching, okay, step 1, step 2, step 3, this is how you activate the rainbow body. And in that ascension process, as we know, the tales of Jesus is that as he was activating more sophisticated apps or more sophisticated operating systems in his DNA, he began to manifest, he began to create miracles. And that's part of the gift of becoming homo angelus, as some people call it. Mm-hmm. That and then the final stage is you are able to live partially in your light body, your rainbow body, and then you ascend according to, you know, spiritual history, that you would ascend. So Jesus ascended into the most sophisticated human DNA, and that was into his light body, and he ascended. So that was the final process. But it is said that prior to that final departure of Earth, you are moving back and forth, living between the light body and the physical body. And in that period of time, you're able to manifest miracles. So this is the stories in spiritual history. And in terms of where this information is at, you might, you know, a lot of people are like, well, nobody does that anymore. Ever since Jesus left, everybody. Well, this is what yoga was about. Yoga is in the practice of Tantra yoga is the most complete practice, but it's quite all dispersed. You know, you go to a yoga class, they don't know anything about this. You go, people think yoga is the asanas. No, the yoga was the instruction book to go to activate DNA, to go through this ascension process. Now, luckily, the great news is that the original yoga, the full Tantra, the full yoga is very well preserved in Tibet by Tibetan monks, because of course they have a very long organized lineage. You know, any of the monks can tell you who all the Dalai Lamas were throughout history. They've libraried this information of Tantra yoga, and they practice it, and they practice it seriously, and they never lost it. So if you want to look at the scientific studies of Tibet, even out of Harvard, they're talking about the monks continuing to go through the ascension process just as Jesus did. It never stopped. It's just like, who knows a Tibetan monk? You know, not many people, and they're not all rah on Facebook, you know, about ascending, but the information, thank God, is getting out there. And, you know, I really like that there is a priest, Reverend Tiso, went and lived with the Tibetan monks, and he is he's a Harvard professor of divinity. And he lived with the Tibetan monks specifically to document this process, this DNA activation process, where they find the final step is ascension, as Jesus did. And he's trying to say ascension isn't from days gone by. It's happening in Tibet. So he, you know, has documented the literature. And if you want to see great YouTube documentaries and video, just go onto YouTube and look for William Henry, Rainbow Body, David Wilcock, Rainbow Body, the priest Tiso, Dr. Tiso, Rainbow Body, Harvard University. So, you know, what you're doing, you know, you're a brave soul. And, you know, I think God sends you to us because you don't look like a Tibetan monk. You know, you look like, and you're not Facebook, and you're not, you know, you go Facebook Live every day of your life. You're not hidden in some, you know, ashram where people have to travel to you and document it, and no one ever really finds out about it. You're taking this concept that was lost and bringing it to the world. And so I have to congratulate, you know, I have to congratulate you, and I have to congratulate the heavens who sent you. Why, why not make this a part of culture again? And that's what you're doing with this event, is you're bringing, and it takes a brave soul to go and say, hey, yeah, we're gonna go to Miami and do DNA activation.
It does.
It takes a brave soul and a lot of investment, and you have guts of steel. So, I'm just here to celebrate. I could almost cry. Like, it's such a gift. It's such a gift, and what a great accomplishment. And I don't even know how I got invited. God, I did, because I actually have been studying this for 25 years, and thank God I found you, and we can do this. And thank God you found Helena, because we got this. So what I'd like to talk about now, people might say, okay, well, these Tibetan monks, they sit up there and meditate all day and do yoga. How are we going to do, how are we going to take that great leap forward? How are we going to become that next Lucy on a weekend in Miami on the beach?
Right.
So, I don't know if we're all going to ascend into our light bodies by, Sunday night, who knows, but we're going to use technology to help us along the way. And, I'll say like a little bit of the things I'm going to do, and I'm going to talk about things you're going to do, Helena, but then I'm going to ask you to, at the end, pick up where
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So if you guys all remember, and if you were in my classroom now, I'd give you a test, and I would say, what do you have to do to get that neck to code more sophisticated apps? You have to be able to catch and retain what?
Light.
Right. Basically, first of all, I'm going to suggest people build a quantum soup, and that they begin to soak in the kind of minerals that Lucy's parents were soaking in Djibouti, Ethiopia, Eritrea. Taking, a seaweed. If you are a seafood eater, eating clean seafood and eating clean, fresh oysters. If you're a vegetarian, eating a lot of seaweed. And against, Jessica knows that I've become a bit of a bathtub alchemist. And I enjoy a vegetarian lifestyle. It's just, I enjoy that, eating that way. I'm not saying that's the right way. That's just what I enjoy. So I'm really into bathing in, I buy Dead Sea salts. I buy magnesium salts. I buy essential oils. I buy something very interesting that's in all holy waters. Whenever you hear of holy healing waters in different parts of the earth, they're always very high in sulfur. So you can buy sulfur powder, or you can buy MSM powder. MSM powder. Throw that in your bath mix. Just make a little bath mix for yourself. And zinc, which is, so many people are deficient in zinc. Right. It causes a lot of problems. And as I was telling Jessica, if you're really deficient in zinc and you try to take the supplements, it'll make you quite nauseous. So really the only way to start, if you're so deficient and you're getting nauseous from zinc, is to maybe take zinc baths. You can buy zinc bath powder, or you could make a zinc oil for yourself and just put it on your body so that you can start getting your zinc levels up. Of course, seafood is high in zinc. Oysters are higher in zinc than any food on earth, as they are in iron, as they are in so many of these minerals that you really want to bathe in. So I would say that, from a nutritional standpoint, is to recreate that quantum bath that Lucy's parents were living in, because our soils are deficient of these minerals. So recreate that by soaking in it, getting mineral water. I recommend, if you're in America, I recommend Mountain Valley or Starkey, but I think people are all over the world. Drinking good water, doing some fasting, lightening up, all the work that you're doing with people, helping them to let go of baggage and limit beliefs. So that's one thing I recommend, is to remineralize. And that's something we're going to be encouraging with everybody at the event. But then, this is where it gets crazy. Of course, we know Helena is going to be using the gamma frequency for DNA activation. And I don't think I need to go down that road, because you guys covered that last night. But that's a very interesting idea, because, if this is an interesting thing. If anyone's ever read the book, The Field by Lynn McTaggart, or The Intention Experiment by Lynn McTaggart, she's an investigative journalist who was studying quantum biology, quantum physicists, studying the power of intention, but from a very scientific perspective. And you know, one of the things she did in her books is that she studied the brains, not she, but there were a lot of tests that have been done on the brains of these Buddhist monks, of the Tibetan monks. Very interesting. They go into this high gamma state when they are in deep, deep meditation. Mm-hmm. And so that's just a very, very sophisticated frequency. And you know, most of these Tibetan monks are in that state as they're going through this process, and what we're going to do is just generate it right in the room. Mm-hmm. And then we will entrain to that frequency. So that's the technology, and of course the water that has the frequencies put into the water. And I'm going to be doing a lot of the breath work that the Tibetan monks are doing. So I'm going to guide you through that as often as I'm in the program to do. And I think that Saturday morning and, mm-hmm. and Sunday morning, I'll be taking you through that breath work, and also recommending how you can continue. You know, I've collected every book on the practices that the Tibetan monks are doing. So I'll be able to share practices with you so you can keep it going. Mm-hmm. I'm also going to do, as I'm telling you these stories and guiding you through things, I'm going to be showing you the spiritual art that are said to encode the frequencies of the DNA activation, of the ascension activation. So you're going to have some really beautiful art shows. And I'm going to be telling some of the stories around this. Mm-hmm. So be watching an art show. I'll be guiding you through the breathing and the practices of Tantra, but I'm going to be doing it with a beautiful visual art show. So that'll be my part, and I really don't have anything else to say. That was a big.
Well, tell us a little bit about when we were kind of brainstorming this baby here, this tour. You know, we were talking about what it was going to take for the human body to be able to hold the space and the light in order to activate, and you recommended a morning sun meditation. So talk a little bit about the purpose of that, and the crystal energy in the sand, and kind of where you're going to get everybody's body ready on Saturday morning, because on Friday night is the heart activation. And yes. Then Saturday is going to be really creating enough space and putting enough light in the body to receive the day. So tell us a little bit about what you got planned.
Okay. Well, so this is the thing. There is nothing more potent to help you hold light than creating a better battery in your body. You're nothing but you're nothing but a walking battery, but the water is a battery. That's what water is doing in your body. 70% water, and you're a battery. But it doesn't mean that all batteries are created equal. Now, I don't know anything about the batteries, and like Duracell batteries or Everready. I don't really know, but you see when they see is it the Everready or the Duracell, where they say, oh, this is an alkaline battery, and then the Duracell money, he goes for a really long time. So I guess maybe all batteries are not created equal. I guess I've heard people say there's some cheap batteries, they don't last long. Well, all batteries are not created equal, right? And so we want to create a better battery, because a good battery is going to catch electricity, light, and hold it. So the best way, and this is back to the science side, the best way to create a better battery in your body is infrared light. So everybody has probably heard of infrared saunas or infrared light therapy. If you've gone to a chiropractor, sometimes they'll put infrared on you for pain. But why do they use infrared? Well, infrared actually treats the water in your body and turns it into a very powerful battery. It structures the water, and it grows the battery. That's the best way for me to say. I don't think I'm going to get into all the technical details, but trust me, this is again, this is not new age. This is very sophisticated science. But if you, and our ancestors, what's the first thing they did every morning? They naturally just go outside. They're outside. They're sitting outside. They're walking outside. They're working outside. It's only now that we have the choice of not being outside all day. But the body, the human body was meant to go out and get its battery set up for the day. And that morning, the morning light has a lot of infrared. That's why it's red. So morning sun that has a lot of red in it, even if you can't see it. So ideally, you get out as early as possible and get that sunrise or sunset, and that it exposes as much skin as possible. Do not wear glasses, do not wear sunglasses, do not wear contacts, because the eyes actually capture more light than the skin. So you want to expose as much skin as possible. And this morning sun will structure the body, and you will feel incredible every day that you do this. Like, I hope that it's a life practice for you to get out in the morning sun every morning, and your whole life will change. Your whole life will change. You can go do a hormone panel the first day of the month. Do this practice every day, just getting out in the morning sun, have your coffee or tea or breakfast, or just sit there, stay as long as you can. I know people are running off, people have kids, but if you can only get 15 minutes, then get the 15 minutes. If you can get an hour, better. If you can get 90 minutes, better. As much as possible, you want to get, do what you can, your days off, plan your days that way to get that morning sun. And you can do your hormone panels at the beginning of the month of this experiment, do them at the end. You will completely change.
Let me ask you this though. What about, because I work with people all over the planet, and Europe and places like that, where they don't have the Thailand sun or the California sun or the Miami sun or wherever we are. I mean, I'm in Kansas, and so I get really great sun like 5 months out of the year, and then the rest I'm like hiding in the winters. Like, what do you recommend? Just a infrared device?
Well, what I recommend is, first of all, there's always still sun. Like, if it's not dark, it's light.
Right.
So it's going to be light. So I recommend, whatever light you have, get that on your skin and your eyes, because it'll know what to do. The body will know what to do with that. Get the real thing. However, I do also recommend you could get, if you go on, you want near infrared. So there's far infrared and near infrared. Near infrared is very, very healing. So I would go onto Amazon and look for a near infrared light. It's going to cost you $29 to get a near infrared light bulb. Yep. And you could just have that in your home radiating. You can follow the treatment regime that's on the package. But I would just have that radiating in your house in the morning and get your skin around it. I would say if you're going to do a serious treatment where you're up against it and getting a treatment, maybe just do that 3 times a week. But just having that in the house, getting on your skin, you're going to feel awakened. You're going to feel better. You can also use grow lights.
Yeah. We made a few of those in our time. Yes, for sure.
Yeah. I noticed, luckily, a lot of people seem to have some grow light experience, and probably a lot of people have in their house. If you use a UFO grow light, I would suggest, because it's very bright on the eyes, I would suggest you turn on, and you could have it radiating in the room, but don't look at it. And you can sit in front of it and get a treatment from a grow light. And you'll feel amazing, because a grow light has all the spectrums of the sun. Because
that's right.
To grow the plant. So I think grow lights are going to give you the most amount of energy, but when you're using grow lights or any of these lights, you want to drink a lot of water, because they can be dehydrated.
Yeah. And they can keep you up at night. So maybe in the morning, do a morning treatment. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. TICA has been through all the grow light experience for sure. We've gone through that quantum experiment. But so tell us what you have planned for the morning for us. How can we get this light? I mean, what are you going to do? Are we going to do yoga? Like, what do you have planned for us?
Yeah, so what I'm planning to do is to bring you out on the beach, everybody out on the beach, and we're going to just sit in the sun, and we're going to practice pulling the sun in through our eyes and our skin. So pulling the light in, and we're also going to do breath work at the same time. So we are going to be doing these practices that will pull light in the body. And again, by having that morning sun, that your water in your body is going to hold that light for you all day, because we've structured it. So we're going to be doing some of the same breath work that the Tibetans and perhaps the Scenes were doing.
And this is going to improve your thyroid function. Totally. Absolutely. Yeah, there's good. And this is cool. Everything that we're doing on the tour, minus, you know, the flow of the whole entire weekend, you're going to be able to learn and use for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
You know, because Mel is going to teach you so many things along the road that you'll be able to introduce and integrate into your daily practice to keep that ascension process going. So that's going to be really exciting.
Yes. Yeah. So, you know, I mean, I think that you're going to do a lot of activities. So I'll let you talk about, you know, different ways you feel you're helping people to hold light, to grow their light, make your light more coherent. That's another thing, is to make your light coherent. So I'll let you talk about those things.
Well, I love that you brought up Tibet, because, you know, when I first went on my journey, you know, I was definitely from the wrong side of the tracks with, you know, the kind of crazy upbringing and the soul situation, and never was really raised with any sort of history or any sort of religion or anything like that. And so my first encounter with you know, Jesus and all of this information was actually from a meditation where I was in a room of council members, and they were discussing Jesus's years spent in Tibet working with the monks to learn ascension. So it was really awesome. And they were talking about the Christ consciousness, which is not about the religion at all, but about the essence of the crystalline DNA. And this crystalline DNA that basically awakens within us, because these bodies are carbon. And it's just like the transformation that Lucy went through. Our bodies are going from carbon to crystal. And that evolutionary process has to be supported through electricity and magnetism, because, you know, our feelings are magnetism and our thoughts are electric, and the body is both electric and magnetic. So we need to kind of keep that those frequencies healthy so that they can expand, and we're not always bleeding out our energy, and we're not always losing ourselves. You know, most people feel like they're battery operated, but really when you're plugged into the sun and you're plugged into the truth and you're plugged into the higher frequencies, you're getting a direct connection. So your stream of energy is constant, and you're not breaking the charge, the conduit from the earth energy to the cosmos from that connection. But, you know, what I've seen is why I've done so much shadow work for so many years in my academy is because, you know, I've met hundreds of vegans that sat in hours of the sun that were ill and broke and tired. And I thought, okay, so what's happening? It's like nature should be healing this body, but the mind controls the belief systems. So how that sun actually enters the body has to be a receptor, which means I have to actually be able to receive the sun. I have to actually be able to receive the minerals. You know, I've looked at people's biology and see that they're a manifestation of resisting their own mineral absorption. Their bodies they're not capable of doing it. And that's coming from a belief system of, I don't deserve, I'm not worthy. So, you know, for me, going into the more of the psychology and the mental component of the quantum biology standpoint, a lot of what Bruce Lipton talks about with epigenetics is that thought can basically make or break genetics and activate and turn off codes with antennas. Yes. So basically what we're going to be doing is we're going to be coming at this tour from every direction of quantum biology. So the aspects of nature and the aspects of this super intelligent technology that Helena and I talked about last night, the old school yoga and tantric breath work. So it's almost like, to me, when I decided to do this tour, someone said to me, how's this going to look like? And I said, it's going to be completely ancient and completely futuristic in 3 days. I don't know how that's going to look. I don't know what that means. And so as you sat there and you were like, I don't know how I get here, you realize that you are the prophet for the ancient knowledge. And Helena is the futuristic component. And I am basically the conduit between that, because I've been running gamma frequencies in my own meditations for over 5 years now. And it was an intention. You know, I didn't have to meditate on a hill and separate myself. You know, I still did laundry and paid my bills and, you know, wiped my kids' noses and took them to school and life coached and ran a wellness center and, ran my businesses. And I still was able to get into gamma with any sort of intention on command once I trained my brain and my body how to accept that frequency. So it's really about accepting the frequency because we're running this high beta all the time. And that high beta is conditioned our bodies to stay in fight or flight. And what that does is that burns minerals. Now, light workers that are a little bit more energetically advanced anyways, they burn more minerals by just existing. So then you put stress on that and then emotional stress on that. And like you were saying about the zinc and the magnesium, most light workers, when I see them, they feel a little crazy and chronically depressed. And that is because the hydration of the minerals is absent in the body because they're running so much energy all the time. It takes a lot of energy to be an empath. It takes a lot of energy to hide your truth from the world. It takes a lot of energy for you to be a star and hide that. And that's what most people are doing is they're hiding what wants to come out and wants to be set free. And, I think a lot of us have been so afraid to be different or the black sheep or this and that. But now it's almost like we're going to give them permission to not just let that freak flag fly, but actually like step into that and practice it. Because when we practice these activations, we become them. So it's not like for 3 days, you're going to watch me be in gamma. For 3 days, we're going to be in gamma. And when we bring that unity principle, it creates a 100 monkey effect. So by even you coming to the tour, your family, your lineage, your bloodline will be affected because that DNA is like this universal web of information that runs through the cosmos of connection. So there's so many layers to this tour. And the cool thing about this tour is that the locations will be picked by spirit. It's not like I'm going, what's economical? I'm going, where are we supposed to be? And there will be parts of this tour that we do for the next few years that will be in vortexes. And then there will be places that we will take this tour where we've got to clean up the planet. So there will be activation points and there will be clearing points. There will be activation points and clearing points. And I know that when we go to Thailand, that will be a huge activation. And then we go to our next location after that, which we're not disclosing yet. That will actually be our first cleanup DNA activation, where the energy is really toxic for those who live there. And by just bringing this tour there, we're bringing the frequency of the first one, which is the crystalline sand energy, the crystals in the sand. We're bringing the vortex with us. So the tour itself will have its own vortex anywhere we go on the planet. And we'll use Mother Earth as a conduit for repairing and clearing and healing. But like you said, and tell us that place again where you said the tectonic plates are, that maybe we should have a tour there.
And of course, Djibouti, that whole
area. Djibouti. Okay, I remember because you said the booty. Got it.
So I want to ask you a question now. I want to ask you what you're saying, that we're going to be the frequency. We're going to work in the frequency. We're going to activate in the frequency. What are we going to do through the day? Could you give us a little schedule for Saturday and you let us know how this looks?
Yes. So to me, in my work of master light coaching through all these years, no matter who I've talked to on the planet, whether you're in Ireland or Africa or Switzerland or California or Kansas, every single person is dealing with the same issues because we're human. It's time, it's relationships, it's health, and it's money and freedom. That is usually where people are asking for help, and then they somehow find me and don't know that, what they're actually asking for is mastery of self. Because time is an illusion, but it is our currency. Relationship is a reflection of ourselves. Freedom is our natural essence. And money is a currency of creation. It's how we create our biggest way of living. It's like, when you're making all these bath salts, you're using money to create all of your bath bombs, so we're using money as kind of that currency of creation itself. So when someone comes to me and they're saying, oh, I've got this boyfriend problem, or I've got this body problem, or I got this spiritual problem, really, any problem, it's all the same issues, but it's actually a metaphor for an underlying suffering. People with money problems have an underlying suffering that they don't feel safe and free. People who have relationship issues have a out of alignment relationship with themselves. People who have an issue with time have spiritual issues because time is our spiritual conduit, right? And people who have health issues are really disconnected from themselves. And they don't feel like that because, and I'm not saying that you are, but I'm saying on the surface, you don't feel that way about yourself. But once you go to the subterranean, the subconscious and the unconscious states of your vibration, that's where the rooted belief systems are. And so what we're going to do is we're going to collectively clear all of the patterns that are around those conflicts, because resistance creates a door, right? And acceptance creates a door opening. And so by us standing in our highest selves, in our highest frequency that we can emit in the essence of ourselves and look at the problem, we are exactly what Einstein says. Our bodies are physically the solution to the problems, where before, when we were in the lower frequency, we couldn't find a solution. You know, nobody was showing up for us. Nobody's seeing and hearing me. I don't feel safe. I don't feel loved. I don't feel cherished, right? But when you're in this moment, when you're in gamma, you feel like God. And that's all I can say about that. And I don't care what you call God, whether it's source energy or whatever, you feel like absolute truth. And when you feel absolute truth, you know without a shadow of a doubt what your truth is. See, when you're in theta, it's like you're Google searching. It's the Akashic records. There's no judgment, so you're free to walk about the cabin of the parallel realities in your universe and lucidly check things out. But when you're in gamma, there is no question, there is no choice, there is only truth. So to get into that frequency and go through the problems that you had last week, you're going to be a different person in that, and you're going to be able to break that pattern instantly. See, it takes me sometimes months to break a pattern with someone because their environment is so restimulative, which means that whatever the rooted problem is, I don't feel safe, and they hire me to help them with money, but they don't feel safe in their marriage and they don't feel safe at their job. They're going to come and work with me and we're going to clear patterns. But unless we make physical changes or a mindset change or totally surrender to that idea, we're going to find ourselves now feeling very strange in that problem because we're still in that problem. So the cool thing about gamma and breaking patterns is it opens up new parallel realities, because there's a parallel reality that exists for every single one of us that still feels like and looks like all the things we love and know, but is joyful and peaceful and abundant and free. And that is literally one nod to the left of a change in mindset and frequency. So if we can get down to the atomic level of the energy structure, see, theta will get to this, theta and gamma will get to the cellular memory, which is what epigenetics is, and we will recode. But if we can stay in gamma long enough, it doesn't just recode, the whole soul contract changes, where you become an absolute ascension and your manifestations are very quick, but they're also pure to your desire point instead of to what you're afraid of. So fear is not a natural frequency for humans. Danger is a natural primal understanding of the human body, but fear is taught. So that is going to be the one that we're going to focus on eliminating, is fear, because fear is what is your roadblock from stepping on your stage. When you said I've got to be super brave to do what I'm doing, I actually feel, to tell you the honest truth, that the bravest thing for me to do is not to get on the stage at all. The bravest thing for me to do is to really get you to do it with me, because to me this feels like the logical next step of my journey. It feels like this doesn't take bravery at all. Honestly, I would suffer greatly if I did not do this, because this is my calling. It's one of those things where I can't not do it. It's like it's time, the planet's ready. Because just like you were talking about Lucy and the human body going through this natural evolutionary phase, planet Earth is going through her ascension as well. And she's raising her frequency. And we are kind of her children. So she's like, you guys either get on board, or, you got to go into a parallel reality where I haven't shifted into 5D yet. And that's okay, because you're my children, but I'd really like you to come to this ascension process with me. So we're really able to work with Mother Earth's energy. And that's why we have to go to so many places around the planet to do these activation points. Because when I do professional house clearing, and I do it all over the United States, you know, the things that I notice the most about people's homes is not the entities that are in the homes that are scaring the family. It is what brought the entities in the home, and that is the host. Believe it or not, the pictures that you have on your wall where you weren't happy, right? The memories that are stuck in your closet that were connected to bad times, that is what brings the entities into your reality, because you're a vibrational match to that. And now think about this planet, what it has been through, the genocides and the wars and the suffering. And we're not just going to go and activate the human body in a fun location. We're going to clear the planet of these situations, of these memories, of these genocides, of this pollution of the mind that has anchored into the frequency of the land. Does that make sense?
Yes. That's really brilliant. This is amazing. Oh. And so what I ask you is, do you have, if people want to know, because I mean, I'm having a lot of people ask me if they want to see a schedule of the day's events, can they write to you on Facebook?
We have it. We actually have it all. It's on the website, the exact flow, but I know it's a little farther down there. So what we've done is with Zoe, we've created, the journalist, we've created a beautiful blog, a quick snapshot of everything from prices and payment plans if people need it, to, you know, if the hotel is a little bit pricey for people, because this is a very exclusive hotel, that there's 5 different hotels in the area that are different prices, and Airbnbs and room shares and transportation. And we've really worked everything out to make this doable for you guys, to be able to get to this first, you know, our first launch, our first anchor point on the planet. And so we have all of that. We've got a staff standing by for anybody that needs help. We're willing to work with anybody on this particular one, because it is so important that if you feel compelled to be there, you really need to be there. You know, it's like one of those things where if you're scared a little bit, good, because it's not gonna, like you said, you're not gonna burst into a light body, but you will definitely accelerate 50% of where you were before you came. And what that's gonna do is it's gonna bring you more peace, because the more light you have, the more peace. Because what is light? It's information. And when you have information, you feel more at peace. Yes. When you know who you are with absolute truth, like Helena was talking about last night, about how knowing her divine purpose on the planet just is peace. Yes. I can so relate to that, because it's like when you know yourself, it doesn't matter what's going on in the world. You know you're here to be part of the solution. You came to a crazy world to be part of the change, not, you know, part of it. You know, we don't want to look at the things that are wrong. We want to say, how can my body and my energy and my stories and my talents be part of the solution? So we've figured out every single, you know, nuance of any kind of, you know, conflict that anybody would face getting here. And my community has been extremely wonderful. You know, we've had people in Ireland sponsor people's tickets. We've had anonymous donors for tickets show up through our community. So if you're seeing this on YouTube, please join us on Jessica Alstrom Quantum Life Community, and you'll just be in this really lovely quantum environment where there really isn't anything quite like a community of non-judgment, where you're kind of free to get your spacesuit on and be that superhuman and practice with your sea legs, where no one's going to judge you, because it really is about upgrading the human body to a place where we're not only more sophisticated in the way that we feel, but the DNA activations will raise us into superhuman abilities. If you guys have read the stories of Atlantis, and I'm sure Mel knows all about this, we had all 12 of our helix activated, and we were literally like throwing fireballs and using the sun's energy, pulling it down to heal bodies and work with star energy. And, you know, we were telepathic, and we were living in a peaceful, highly intelligent, intuitive society of advanced technology. And that's what we're returning to.
Yeah. And it's really interesting, though, if you looked at the movie Lucy, how they actually captured, if you remember in the beginning, they showed her like getting a bunch of light kind of, you remember there were like neurons and everything was flashing. And what was interesting is that the capabilities that they had, and they had evolutionary biologist consultants who created it, she was magnetic. That's the gift, is that whether when she was creating, it was all through magnetism, that her powers were so potent. And you know, it's not a talk that people have, like, what is the next version of human, and what are we going to get from it? You know, I mean, people just don't talk about what we're going to have next. Not this culture, not the culture we're in. And as I say, there are cultures that have done it. So I think it's just exciting, just that us having that conversation and acting as if this is going to be normal and bringing it into our tribe. That's going to make a huge shift for people.
Right. Well, and we're also going to have fun. You know, we're not going to be sitting in meditative trance for 3 days. Because one thing that I've noticed is that the higher self is literally the healed inner child. So there's going to be a lot of play, and there's going to be a lot of dance, and there's going to be a lot of celebration of ourselves. Because the thing is when you're in gamma, you know who you are. So it's constantly a celebration. When you look at duality, you totally understand the divinity of it. So there's nothing else to do but celebrate. And I think that if more spiritual teachers would look at where we are as a collective right now and actually start celebrating our divinity, we would all actually ascend faster, because we're all under the assumption that we have to keep studying and we have to keep learning and we have to keep YouTubing. And yes, that does keep you feeling safe with your truth. But if we just said, hey, guess what? We're in 5D, it's time to dance. And everyone was like, oh, it's time to dance? Yeah, and it's time to play, and it's time to sing, and it's time to be in the sun, and it's time to kick sand and love each other and play and eat amazing light-based foods. And this is your only homework for the rest of your life. If more spiritual teachers would start actually teaching this, then we would have a totally enlightened community of the world in less than 30 years. But if we keep pushing this journey, like, okay, you're not there yet because you've got guilt and shame and you've got past life stuff. You know, it's like when you set a course to release your karma and then you step into acting as if, that's an instant manifestation, and we're in 5D. So let's start instantly manifesting our highest expression of heaven on earth. And the body will follow the mind. The body will follow the heart. And the less we use the mind and the more that we use the heart, the faster we evolve. But again, when I'm constantly having to study spirituality constantly, I'm still in my head. My heart's still closed from my last abusive relationship, but I sure feel good when I listen to Jess on YouTube. You know, it's like, it's time for us to just celebrate that heart where it can be safe. It's like an abused dog at a pound and pulling them out and saying, it's okay, you're safe now. It's like, it's okay to wag your tail. It's okay to be the child. It's okay to play. And if we just started really practicing that, because we're not here to work a 9 to 5. We're not the species that was built for it. We're here to create something that has a ripple effect, we're not here for a career. We're here for legacy. We're here to create a shockwave of intention through our actions and our examples. So if we're not allowing ourselves to create that, we won't ascend. Does that resonate?
Yeah.
So it's going to be awesome. And these tours are just the beginning, because I hope that other teachers, you know, I know that I love the work that several other teachers are doing. And I'm not saying that nobody's doing what we're doing, but, you know, they're not celebrating the child. You know, they're going to Peru and we're doing ayahuasca and, you know, we're facing our fears and we're doing those things, and that's great. But there is an easy button. There is a quick fix, and that is to go right into gamma, because that's where the planet is trying to get to. That's a 7th dimensional frequency that she will completely ascend to. And all we have to do is be in alignment with her, and she'll carry us just like when we were little kids and we were carefree because we knew our mama was going to take care of us. Like, that's really how it is. Like, your money problems will be taken care of if you start playing more. And I know that's hard to believe, but the more you play, the more you play, the more you invest in yourself, because it's law of reflection. The more joy you bring to yourself, the more joy you get back, because it's law of reflection. because we are magnetic. And law of attraction is a representation of what we believe about ourselves. So if I don't feel safe to play, and I got to work hard and I got to work hard and I got to work hard, I'm not going to let myself ascend. And those are the people who won't even hear about our tour because it won't be a vibrational match to their belief systems to even be able to see this video. And that's the coolest thing about me being able to have such free speech. I know people tell me, ask me all over the world, you're just putting it out there. Aren't you afraid someone's going to like, you know, freak out when they hear what you talk about? And I said, you realize that how awesome the law of reflection is that people who are not in alignment with what I'm saying can't hear me. They can't feel me. And if they're going to at some point hear me, but they're not ready to hear me, I will trigger them. And that's even better because I'm planting a seed within them that will germinate and percolate when they're ready.
Yeah.
And that's why I've been encouraging you. And that's why I drug you on this tour with me, because there's a huge spiritual teacher in there ready for the world to see. And it's time for you to make music. It's time for you to create. And it's time for you to be on that stage where you can shine that light, you know, because you've been doing it in Phuket and you've been doing it all over the world, but you've stayed behind closed doors, and I'm going to pull you out because it's time and you're ready for it.
Well, I thank you. Great to be there. And I'm very excited about Thailand too. So I want to invite everybody to Thailand Cleanse. You can go to PhuketCleanse.com, and Jess will be with us the first 2 weeks of November doing events with us there. So if you go to the website, you'll see all the activities, all the spa treatments, the fitness, the yoga, everything that we do there, the healthy food.
Let's talk about that for a minute, because anybody who lives on that part of the planet that is easier accessibility to get to Phuket that they can get to Miami, I would highly encourage them to get there. So tell us a little bit, because I know we've talked so much about your experience there, you know, for like one price, what do they get?
Well, if you go to the website, you'll see all the offerings, and I always call it the most inclusive of all inclusives. It's an all-inclusive holiday. So when you arrive, you'll meet with a nutritionist, you'll meet with a trainer, they'll put you on a program so that you can create any kind of physical or wellness goals. And then you have a particular fitness and diet or detox, just depending on what you're wanting to work on. It could be they're doing a fitness diet, or you could be doing a cleanse, or you could be mixing both, depending on what you and the nutritionist and trainers decide. And then all day long, from early morning, you're out in that morning sun, like I talked about, but we do it in fun ways. You'll be doing that morning sun, but you can either do it as a hike, or you can do it as yoga on the beach, or you could do it in meditation. There's a lot of different ways that you're going to be getting that morning sun. And you'll also get the infrared sun at the end of the day at the beach. We go to the beach every day. And we have it's like the Disney World of wellness, because every kind of fitness that exists, well, I shouldn't say that exists, that's a stretch, but we have a huge array of different kinds of fitness activities, and a huge array of different kinds of yoga, and a huge array of different kinds of meditation, so that you can just go to this buffet and find what makes your heart sing when it comes to wellness activities. What yoga makes your heart sing, what meditation makes your heart sing, what fitness classes make your heart sing, what food makes your heart sing. Everything's a buffet. Plus the spa treatments are included, massages, the reflexology, it's all included. We have all
talk about some of the more strange things you've got.
We have this manifestation chair that we created, and people sit and they get a foot massage while they're in the manifestation chair, and they listen to one of these guided meditations where we have some technology in there. We have technology in the chair. You're going through like a visualization process. It seems like when you get out of the chair in the next few days or soon, your manifestation will come true. I don't awesome. Money back guarantee, because somebody could come back at me like, hey, but I mean, for example, one of my staff, this is the problem when you have staff, you don't necessarily want your staff to sit in the manifestation chair, because they might not be your staff, especially if,
so they're gonna leave you.
That she said in the manifestation, and she did a manifestation of a dream lover, and he checked in that night. Well, she's gone. You know, this is a thing. Yeah, there's a lot of yeah, that's a little issue, but we have a manifestation chair. We have this really cool thing called an ajna light or neurolight. And it's a technology where you lay under it and you do a meditation and lights are flashing into your eye, but your eyes are closed. But and you start to see that it's just a white light that's flashing in your eye, in your closed eyes.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden in your head, you start to see this cascade of beautiful colors. So you want to open your eyes and see what the colorful lights are that are coming at you. But if you actually do open your eyes, you'll see it's just a white light. It causes your brain to produce DMT. So you get this cascade of all these beautiful colors and lights, and you basically dream awake.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's super cool. Well, and we're going to be doing some fun ceremonies and some fun activations. And one thing that I didn't mention about the tour is one of the highlights is, you know, on Saturday night, a Saturday, as we kind of wrap for the day, we're going to be going back to our individual rooms for some private rest time, which is going to be really needed. And just sitting with the information and the frequency of the day and really kind of get grounded and rest and take a bath, probably with some of your bath bombs and things like that. And then what we're going to do is we're all going to dress up as our highest future selves, as the archetype within. You know, how if you could close your eyes and visualize the strongest, the most amazing, the most abundant, the most beautiful, the most, you know, alive version of you, what would that symbolic nature look like? And it's going to be basically a superhero ball. And we're all going to dress up in those costumes or in those clothes. And we're going to come and we're going to rock the night away with DJ Tasha. And we're going to listen to music. Then we're going to celebrate each other. And we're going to act as if the whole evening. And hopefully we've got our fingers crossed. So far, we're going to be on a rooftop. Overlooking Miami on the beach, and it's going to be a fantastic place for us to basically be not only the inner child but the higher self. And it's really important because I have an email that goes out to everybody about a week and a half before the tour, giving them very specific instructions, you know, what to wear, what to bring, you know, how to basically show up, because we don't want to bring a bunch of our garbage with us. We don't want to bring our stories of commiseration, because that's how humans usually talk to each other, is commiseration. Oh, my flight got delayed and blah, blah, blah. And we're not going to even bring our names if we don't want to, because that's a symbol of who we've been. So what we would like to do is we would like to be as brand new when we get off that plane and start acting as if throughout the whole weekend, so that when we get to Sunday, you know, there's a VIP brunch with me and the team where people can just ask us questions and really kind of just have a one-on-one mastermind during brunch. It's going to be this beautiful, amazing vegan brunch. And then after that, we're going to go back into the beautiful auditorium, and we're going to do some quantum healing as a group, because by then you'll have been in gamma for 2.5 days, and your level of psychic abilities and your knowing will probably increase by 80% by Sunday morning. And the best way for you to believe in that is for you to see it. So I'm going to have people stand up and do kind of a live question and answer, or a live, you know, kind of a live channeling event. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the whole group into the healing. And I'm going to have each individual group be able to take individuals through these healings by nothing but their intuition. Because I teach all the time in TICA, you don't know how to heal until you start healing. You don't know how to drive until you drive. You don't know you're psychic until you're psychic. So acting it out and pulling it out in physical reality and showing up as the healer and the master will give your belief system, your third dimensional app, that understanding that you're a badass, and that when you go home, you're going to be that person, because it's muscle memory and it's cellular memory. You'll be able to get into gamma with one thought. You know, it's almost like we've talked about before with certain narcotics or vitamins, where you just think about them and you get the chemical reaction of having them in your body.
Yeah.
Well, that's all you have to do with gamma after is the brain's been sitting there for long enough. It has basically accepted the frequency, and now you can find it whenever you want.
Wow.
So you won't go home and crash. You won't go home and after being in ecstasy for 3 days, dive into high beta again.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
People must be excited.
Well, my community is, I mean, I don't know what the rest of the world's doing, but I mean, I'm very, you know, I'm working in my classrooms all the time and we're just like school children, like waiting for Christmas. So, I mean, I am just overly grateful and blessed that I was, that I'm allowed to do this. You know, I mean, I knew that I came here to do this, but I didn't know it was going to be this much fun.
Well, we thank you, and it's an exciting opportunity for everybody, and I'm looking forward to seeing everybody there.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So if anybody has any questions for me,
Yes.
Please ask. You can, if you were interested in Phuket Cleanse, just
Yes.
write to the email on Phuket Cleanse. If you're interested in talking to me, you can find me on Facebook. So
yeah. And we're going to be doing lots more webinars about what we're going to be doing in Phuket together. And that's going to be the first 2 weeks of November in 2018. Well, me and my light team will be there for 2 weeks, and we're going to be doing all kinds of ceremonies, activations, kind of, I wouldn't call them seminars, but kind of fast forward manifestation things, and you know, clearing up all kinds of stuff in the evening. So after you had your beautiful day in the sun with your trainer and your nutritionist, and you've had your massage, then in the evenings we can have some fun. So it's going to be a great time.
It is going to be a great time. And it's a great way for people, say in Australia, to come to Phuket. Oh, and here's the biggest thing. You can bring a friend for free.
What?
So you can share, if you can share a room with a friend, you can bring a friend for free. So that halves the price because you can just split the, you know, cost.
That's incredible.
Incredible, right?
Yes.
Right? That's
okay. Yes.
For you know, your followers to come. We want them to come. We want them to see you, and we want them to have this experience. So
yes.
Yeah. Right off.
So after this, after we wrap here in just a second, we will put your website on how they can contact your team or how they can see your beautiful website. And it's just PhuketCleanse.com, correct?
Yeah.
And you're on Facebook, you're real big on Instagram. So check them out. They're just so much fun. And then if you can get to Miami, awesome. If you're thinking about doing both, please reach out to me because Mel and I can work with you on that. You know, we can figure out how to get you in both places. Because I think what I'm looking for is going and having this amazing DNA activation and then going and like having, like being able to live in that in Phuket, in that beautiful place on the planet where it's just thriving. So that's going to be amazing if we can actually do both. So
yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for doing this. I think for a lot of people we brought more clarity, and that's kind of, you know, this is kind of an unorthodox seminar / event. So I think it's important that we make these videos to bring people into more understanding. You know, I know that some people were kind of scared that they were going to, you know, combust into light or something like that. And they may, but if they did, it would be awesome.
I hope
we all deserve that at this point. Yeah. And you know what, one thing that I will tell you guys, that don't be afraid of your evolution. Don't be afraid to leave people behind. Don't be afraid that you're going to lose anything, because that's not how the universe works. The universe is not cruel. The universe is expansion. So it isn't this or that. It isn't go get enlightened and then maybe I'm not going to be the same person for my family, or maybe, you know, my obligations won't fit anymore. You'll be able to manage those things and your family. You'll have better understanding for your spouse. You'll have abundance with money. So you'll actually be able to have it all. It's not about losing. It's about expanding. And I just want anybody that was kind of on the fence because they thought, oh, I'm not worthy, or I don't deserve it, or my life's going to change.
Yeah.
If you're here, if you're on this planet, you're worthy. If you've made it this far, you're deserving. If you can hear our voices, you want to be free, and everything you want will be safe when you let go of that fear. So it's a very abundant journey that we're about to head on as a collective species. And I'm just super excited to be able to do it.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
All right. Yeah. So thank you so much, Mel. And let me see how we end off here. Let me see. Stop video. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and put all the links in the drop down, and we will chat soon. Thanks a lot, Mel.
Bye.
Bye.